Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leela Sharon Aheer, and I am very, very privileged to be your Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism, and the Status of Women. Just want to take a moment to thank all of you for joining us virtually today for this vigil. Before I begin, let me just take a moment to recognize my Indigenous and Métis brothers and sisters, our Indigenous Treaty 6, 7, and 8 territories, and our Métis regions. Thank you so much to our knowledge keepers and storytellers, and to our elders who share these incredible stories of lands that they've lived on for thousands of years before us. I'm truly humbled to be able to share this space with you today. Today is the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. The Government of Canada proclaimed this day to remind us all to take a pause and to remember and honor the memories of women lost to gender-based violence. Normally, we would have the privilege of hosting you in person and to gather and be together and to remember together. But like many things that are happening this year, things are a little different. But I'm so glad that we have found a way to virtually embrace and to be able to come together to mark this very, very important event. This day marks a very dark moment in our country's history. These women were killed because of deeply rooted hatred and misogyny. They were students and staff members and were killed simply because they were women. The tragedy of this day shone a light on a really deeply disturbing issue in our country. Gender-based violence happens in communities all across our province. Even now, 31 years after the events at Technique, gender-based violence remains to be a part of our society. As you know, we've published that Alberta has the third highest police-reported intimate partner violence by province. Approximately 43% of Albertans have experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. And now with all of the stresses of the pandemic and the economy, we've seen increased calls to the sexual and domestic abuse support lines. This issue cannot be ignored. Let me be really clear here. Every single Albertan deserves to live free from fear and the experience of violence. And regardless of environmental stresses, the rise of this type of violence in our province is completely unacceptable. We need to take every single opportunity that we can to ensure that we are educating people, that we are taking action, and that we are doing everything physically possible to prevent gender-based violence. And that's what I believe we should take away from today's ceremony. This is a commitment to ensure that something like this day never happens again. But for now, let us just take some time dedicated to the memory of these women. They were smart and competent and capable. They were challenging the norms with their involvement in STEM fields, and they were helping other students reach their career goals. I would like to welcome a very good friend of mine, our first speaker of the program. Her ministry provides invaluable support to women's emergency shelters, sexual assault centers, and domestic abuse support centers, all of which advocate for more safety in our communities. It is my absolute pleasure and honor to welcome the Honorable Rajan, Sawhney, Minister of Community and Social Services.
Thank you so much, Minister Aheer, and thank you all for joining us today. My ministry, Community and Social Services, works to support our province's most vulnerable people, including those at risk of experiencing violence and abuse. The statistics speak for themselves. Alberta has some of the highest rates of family violence and sexual violence in Canada. Minister Aheer did mention that. And as we all know, these forms of abuse are often gender-based. As the government, we are committed to ending gender-based violence and creating safer communities for everyone. We will do this through education, commitment, advocacy, and by coming together as a community to drive change. Now, our next speaker is someone dedicated to encouraging more women to enter trade schools. For years, she has been part of the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology's efforts to ensure STEM students have the support that they need to be successful. I would now like to introduce Carrie Vos, Department Head of Energy Resources and Operations at NATE.
Thank you, Minister. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here today. As a female engineering technologist, this is a day of remembrance that is very important to me. It is now over 30 years since the tragedy at École Polytech in Montreal. Since then, the world has changed, yet so much is still the same. Gender inequality is still an issue in science, technology, and trades. Although many studies show that increasing diversity in organizations leads to greater financial returns, less employee turnover, and better solutions, there is still a shortage of women in IT, trades, and engineering technologies. Recently, COVID-19 has highlighted how women are the most precarious wage earners in society, as females are more likely to be laid off due to COVID. Training and employing women in higher earning, more stable, and technical careers could help women better support their families. Many organizations are doing excellent work to attract and retain women in technical and trade professions. At the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, where I work, staff and recruitment and a variety of programs develop and contribute to initiatives to attract young women to trades and technical careers. Whether it is speaking to a group of junior high students or providing girls-only STEM-related summer camps, these opportunities introduce trades, IT, and engineering technologies to young women. These initiatives help women in STEM careers, but there's still so much more work to be done. Parents, educators, and professionals in these technical and trades areas of work all have roles to play to help attract all individuals to these rewarding careers. I was recently reminded of a great quote by Marian Wright Edelman: "You can't be what you can't see." We need more women in these underrepresented areas so others can see a technical or trade career path is possible for everyone. I believe in a future where all young women who are interested in a STEM career, no matter what their background or ethnicity, will be able to find a role model like them in whatever career they choose. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And thank you so much for everything that you do to support women as they pursue their careers in STEM. And our final speaker today has made a career dedicated to supporting the currently in STEM. Nancy Blamonte is with the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Alberta, who are taking a multifaceted approach to addressing gender disparities in the industry. So to speak more on why the events of that day are still felt in the industry, welcome, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. It's beyond comprehension how 31 years ago at École Polytechnique in Montreal, 14 women were killed because they were women. Because they were women in an engineering program, a male-dominated program, and continues to be a male-dominated field. Women are still underrepresented in the engineering workforce. We hear things like women are more suited for other professions, or that it's women's choice not to pursue engineering or other male-dominated careers. It's astounding to even hear myself say aloud, male-dominated careers. How is it still a common notion that there are male and female-dominated careers? And how is it that we still need to rally against violence perpetrated against women? Through the work that APEGA is doing on diversity, inclusion, and gender equality programs, we know that female engineers continue to experience gender-based discrimination and violence in the workplace. Unfortunately, discrimination and violence against women is still part of our present situation. Men and women do not equally see how gender affects treatment in the workplace. In our research, the majority of men say gender doesn't matter at all or matters very little. But that's not what women are telling us. In fact, very few of them are saying or feeling this. the chasm continues to be greater than we think based on women's experiences in the workplace. It's disheartening that we live in a country that is still not safe for all women who live and work here. It's astounding that we use words like brave to describe women in male-dominated careers. But it's also heartening that more and more women are taking their rightful place, their equal place in traditionally thought of male-dominated professions and workplaces. There is hope in the transformations taking place in the diversity and equality space, but there's still so much more work that needs to be done. We are taking action to increase the representation of women in engineering as well as geoscience. At Apega, we have goals that we're working towards with the help of women leaders from industry and academia, providing their recommendations and actions to ensure inclusivity and sustainability of the professions, to make workplaces safe and inclusive for women across all professions. Taking action on violence against women is what we're doing here today by honoring the 14 women killed at École Polytechnique. By remembering them and commemorating December 6th as National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women ensures that their deaths were not in vain. And to also remind us of the too many other women and girls murdered since then, as we commit to continue working for women's equality and to end the cycles of gender discrimination and violence against women. To the 14 women killed 31 years ago because they were women in an engineering program, we honor and remember you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Truly, the STEM industry would benefit from just incredible women like yourself and bringing that expertise to the field. And unfortunately, we cannot get there. We cannot thrive if gender equality and gender-based violence still exists in our community. So it's up to all of us to do better. We are required to do better. Let us reconfirm our commitment to ending gender-based violence so that we can experience a society where everyone can live life to their fullest. Making that promise is the very, very least that we can do to honor the women we lost at École Polytechnique. And it's so important to remember who they were and who they could have been today. On this day, we remember these women. Anne-Marie Lemay, Anne-Marie Edward, Annie Saint Arnaud, Annie Turcotte, Barbara Daniel, Barbara Klusnik-Widajewicz, Geneviève Bergeron, Helen Colgan, Maryse Lagagné, Maryse Leclerc, Maude Avernic, Michelle Richard, Nathalie Croteau, Sonia Pelletier. Can we please take a moment of silence as we remember these remarkable women? Thank you, everyone. Please stay safe and stay well.